There is a meme, which is very, very hilarious, really, if you see it. It's a meme of former President Bill Clinton, who's seated behind two singers. The meme itself is consisting, of two photos. The upper photo shows Bill Clinton, former president of the US, seated behind a fat, unattractive singer, like this fat, ugly woman singing. And he looks bored, and he looks like he's about to sleep, and he looks like he doesn't want to be there, and he surely looks like he doesn't want to have any fun. Meanwhile, the lower photo of the same meme shows Bill Clinton seated behind a slim, attractive, actually beautiful female singer. And he looks very, very entertained. It looks like he's having a lot of fun. It looks like he's enjoying his time there. And so, basically, the whole idea is, of course, that if you're an attractive woman, well, you're going to have more attention, right, from men. That's pretty much a given. That's basic knowledge. But there's also something very, very important here. Namely, that if you're a time and energy vampire, a TEV, then usually, in fact, I can pretty much say that this applies across every single sphere, every single aspect, every single dimension of life. If you are a time and energy vampire, you are largely unattractive. You are fat, obese, out of shape, you look ugly, you don't wear any attractive clothes, and you don't do anything to make yourself look attractive either. Now look, there's a few, first and foremost, I probably just pissed off a lot of people, which is fine, because I like to piss off people and be a little divisive. However, you can't do anything about your height. You can't do anything about the color of your eyes and the color of your skin and so on, your genetic heritage. That's fine. But you can surely do something about the composition of your bodily fat and muscles. And you surely also can do something about your clothing style, your hairdo, your appearance, your charisma, and your conduct. That's something that everybody can fix. Which is why mocking people because they're short or mocking people because they're not as tall as you is low-class behavior. That's the same thing as racism, effectively. Discriminating against people, because they have the quote-unquote wrong, in air quotes, skin color. That's lower grade behavior right there. But speaking of behavior, that's something that everybody can fix. And also bodily composition. And once again, just to reiterate, I never ever seen an attractive time and energy vampire. They always have this bodily defect. And once again, bodily defect doesn't mean something that they can't help, but it means something that they can help. As in mostly the distribution of fat, or the volume of fat, or the percentage of fat, really. That's something that everybody can work on. I don't care how you were born. I don't care from where you are. I don't even care if your genetic history would favor more fat in your body. That's fine. It means that you're dealt a shit hand to begin with respect to fat and muscle tissue and so on. But that doesn't mean that you should accept that as a statement, it doesn't mean that you should accept that as your reasoning for being fat, because it doesn't apply. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't mean it's healthy. And look, I know what I'm talking about here. I used to walk around like a fat pig myself. It's actually pretty embarrassing to admit, but I effectively used to be a time and energy vampire myself way back in the day. I was gross, I was fat, like a pig. I wasn't healthy, I was eating unhealthy. I was this annoying, pestering little boy pretending to be a man who just had to run my mouth and laugh out loud and think that I was so fun, but I really wasn't. I mean, maybe I was fun to those around me. More power to that, or more power to me, really. But by and large, I think it's safe to say that I had some TEV in me, really, some time and energy vampirism in me. I was one of those people who wasted others' time and energy. Now I was surrounded by people like that as well. That's fair, but that's no excuse. Anyway, back to the point here. I managed to lose a whopping 80 pounds of weight. That's a lot, in case you didn't know. It's quite a lot. And yeah, whilst I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of why that's important and how I managed to do that, let me just emphasize how it can be done for everyone. And also, if you find that other people are repelled by your behavior or your conduct or your looks, then either there's actually two options here. If they're offended by your looks or by your charisma or by the way you present yourself, either you're dealing with extremely prejudiced racists who can only be around other people of their own color, which maybe there are. I'm sure there are some racists like that, but there are few and far in between. Or number two, so the racists are number one. Number two, you're actually a very, very unattractive and repellent person. Maybe you have a defect when it comes to your behavior. Maybe you talk really loud and you're annoying, and people don't want to listen to your annoyingly excruciating voice. Maybe you have this ladder. Or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Or maybe you're just being an annoyance. Maybe you're just being fat. Maybe you can't dress properly. That's it. And that's how you get these reactions from other people, because I'm telling you, looks matter and looks don't lie. They really don't. So, bottom line, if you know you have one of these defects, go fix them. You can gauge people's reactions when you're around them pretty well. Because most people watching this, you know what? You actually have some social wits about you. You're able to judge if people like being around you and thrive in your company or not. It's as simple as that. So, with that being said, if you want to learn more about time and energy vampires, and also how to deal with them, and also how to potentially shield yourself and guard yourself from them, get subscribed to my email list. The link to do so is below the episode description wherever you are watching and or are listening to this. And I will see you later.